Hey y'all, it's Sarah and welcome back to my YouTube channel. You can find me over on Instagram at The Magical Reader. Alright y'all, so today I'm doing a wrap up of the books that I read in September and October. I didn't get to read a lot so far this fall, but the books that I've read have been excellent. I helped myself out with that because I did a lot of rereads and I absolutely love rereads. I do them all the time. And it's what helps me make my reading always really good. So let me show you guys each of the books that I read so far this fall, and I'll tell you a little bit about them, how I rated them, and if I would recommend them or not. So yeah, let's take a look. I'm currently reading A Good Girl's Guide to Murder as well as A Court of Thorns and Roses. The first one I haven't read, the second one is a reread for me, but I may finish them before the end of October, but I may not. So I'm just filming this now and I'll let you know in November if I ended up finishing those. So I'm going to start off with a really good one, which is the Hawthorne Legacy. So if you're not familiar, let me show you. This is the first one in the series. This is the Inheritance Games. And this is the second one, which is the Hawthorne Legacy. Together they look absolutely beautiful. The third one's cover just came out. And it is red, so I can't wait to see them on my shelves. But the Hawthorne Legacy, like I said, is the second book in a series. It is about a girl who comes from poverty and she ends up being named in a billionaire's will as the beneficiary of his money. And she, in order to receive it, has to live on his estate. And she lives with 4 brothers who are the Hawthorne brothers as well as their family, all in this giant mansion. This book is full of twists and turns, just like the first one. This one is even better than the first, I would say, and the first was really good. A lot of y'all on Instagram said that I was the first person that got you to read these books, so that's really cool, and we've had a lot of fun chatting about them. This book is amazing. Every chapter, something crazy happens. Like, literally every chapter, there's something new. So if you are someone who loves fast-paced books, you're going to really like this one. I struggle with a lot of books that are slow, even if they are books that people love and they're beautifully written. I really love fast-paced books, and so this is one of those, and why I loved it so much. I would probably give it a 5-star rating. For me, a rating is a vibe more than really anything like specific or academic. I would give it a 5-star rating. And I would recommend this to anyone who loves mystery, YA mystery in particular. If you like truly devious, which I'll talk about here in a little bit, I think you'll really like this one. Alright, next one I'll talk about is The Nature of Witches, which is this one right here. The cover is absolutely stunning. And let me pull the dust jacket off for you as well. I mean, look at that. It's beautiful, right? So this is a really stunning book. It's written really well as well, which is, nice to have a good cover and a great book. I would probably rate this one a 3.5 star. It was good. It's a really interesting book that is written about witches who have the ability to help regulate the climate, which is really interesting, especially at this point in time with what we're dealing with in our climate right now. So a really pertinent subject, and really cool that witches are involved for sure. Something that I really liked about this book is how atmospheric it is, right? You can feel each of the seasons. The descriptions of nature in this book are absolutely beautiful, and so you can really just feel like you are within the book. The writing is really beautiful. I would say it does read a little bit young. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend this to some younger readers, but it's just sweet, right? So this is a really good book. Not my favorite that I've read this fall, but definitely one that I would recommend to probably most people, especially during this season. One that I really liked that I don't have with me because I actually checked it out from the library. I have an e-arc of it on my Kindle, but I don't have a physical copy right now, is Project Hail Mary. And Project Hail Mary is a sci-fi book about a man who is waking up on a spaceship, and he has no idea how he got there. He has no idea why he's there, how he got there, what his mission is, anything. And so he has to go through all these elaborate steps to try and figure out what his purpose is on this ship. You will meet a very cool side character who is one of my new favorite characters of all time. I don't want to spoil it, but he is awesome. The first 200 pages or so I breezed through. I got a little stuck in the middle but ended up to the end, the last 100 pages or so were really, really quick. I was always interested in what was going on. It does have a lot of scientific knowledge though. I've seen a lot of people say that it doesn't require scientific knowledge to appreciate. And while I appreciate that opinion, I would say as a scientist, as a science teacher, a lot of the stuff that's in this book, your average human does not understand. And if you're able to gloss over that and just say, sure, whatever that author is talking about, I'm going to take it at face value, that works for me, and move on, then that's a great thing. But if you're someone who's Googling everything that comes up that you don't know, it's probably going to take you a while to get through this book. That doesn't mean it's not good. I still gave it 4.5 stars. I really liked it. But I would caution if you are someone that doesn't have a lot of scientific knowledge. And again, that was Project Hail Mary, which is written by the same author as The Martian, which is a really popular book as well. Alright, next up I'll talk about Angels and Demons. I've got a little mass market paperback right here, but I actually checked the illustrated version out of my library because one of my friends recommended to do that, because this book is actually the first in the Robert Langdon series, which is known for the Da Vinci Code. And the Da Vinci Code is really, really popular. This is actually the first in the series. You don't have to read them in order, but it does give good information, I think, for the second book. I like this one even better than the Da Vinci Code. I would rate this a 4.5, 5 stars. I personally love Dan Brown books. I think it's been popular for people to hate on them because they are pretty commercial fiction and they seem to be approachable for really anyone. Something I would say to keep in mind is this is fiction, right? Like, this book has religious tones in it, it has art tones in it, it has history tones in it, but it's fiction, okay? So there are things that they talk about in this book that are real, there are things that they talk about in this book that are like dramatized versions of history and of religion and things like that. So just keep in mind that this is fiction. I hope you're not playing a drinking game if I say fiction. So this book is an adventure through Rome with Robert Langdon. Robert Langdon is a symbologist. He studies symbols, and he is trying to figure out why a prominent particle physicist has recently died. And the evidence has led him to Rome and to the Catholic Church, and so he's trying to discover the science behind this, the symbols behind it, and also determine how he can use the art around Rome to find the killer. This is definitely a book that's going to get you out of a reading slump. It's super fast-paced. Something happens in every chapter that is wild, which again I love in books. Super, super quick and super interesting. It's going to be one where you're going to want to look up the art. You're going to want to find maps of Rome and the Vatican and see what they're talking about throughout the story. I really like this book for what it is. I'm a fan of the suspense, thriller, mystery genre when it involves things like politics and history and religion. I'm not so much a domestic thriller fan, but when it's just a typical mystery or a whodunit, I absolutely love that. And when there's politics and history involved, I think that's really, really cool. This is one that I reread probably once a year, and oftentimes I forget little parts of the plot, little details, right? And so I love going back and seeing what I forgot and flipping the page and remembering, oh yeah, that was the plot twist, right? And so I really love coming back to this one. It's really quick to read. Alright, so the next one I'll tell you about is Deception Point, which is another mass market paperback by Dan Brown. It's very chunky. And this one is in a different vein. It's focused more on science than on history. So Deception Point is based off of a NASA discovery, and people are trying to figure out, is there a conspiracy? I also would give this one a 5 stars. It fits within that same genre. I love that this one has a very smart and capable female main character. You don't always see that in the thriller genre. And I love that she is able to use her intelligence, as well as the other female supporting characters, use their intelligence and their capabilities to solve this conspiracy issue. This is another one that I reread all the time. This is probably actually my second favorite book after The Great Gatsby. I've read this book probably 12 times. I've had 3 copies of it before because they keep falling apart. And I just love to reread it because something, again, crazy happens at every chapter. It's super fast-paced. I know it's going to get me out of a reading slump every time, and it's a scientific thriller, which isn't as common as other types. Alright, so next one up is also a reread, and this one is a YA dystopian, and this is Scythe. So Scythe is an incredible book. I just buddy read this with two of my friends over on Bookstagram, so shout out to y'all. This was a really, really, really good book. Every time I read this book, I get really excited and I get really angry. So Scythe, again, is a YA dystopian, and it is about essentially if the world is able to overcome death. Right? We're able to solve the problems of disease and poverty and hunger and crime and all of those things, and people are no longer naturally dying. And so the government has come up with this idea of scythes, which are people who glean or essentially kill people in order to keep the population down. So obviously these people are supposed to be good people. They're supposed to be the best of humanity. And this story takes us along the ride of a guy and a gal who are on their way to becoming scythes, and just seeing how it affects their lives and also how they fit in to this greater global group. This is another one that is crazy every single chapter. The second and third books in this series are bonkers. Like, they are absolutely wild. The second book is probably the craziest book that I've ever read. Like, it's insane. But I love these. They're super high stakes. Something is happening all the time. You've got morally gray characters. I know a lot of people are into that sort of stuff. So these are really highly recommended for me. I would give this a 5-star. Alright, and finally, I will wrap it up with another favorite mystery. There's a theme here of mysteries and thrillers. Another favorite one is this one here, which is Truly Devious. This is the first in a trilogy that, well, yeah, it's a trilogy. It now has a 4th book that's in a different location that is technically a standalone, has the same characters, but you can read it out of order. Anywho, this is the original first book in the original trilogy. I love the covers on these, and I absolutely love these books. They are 5 stars through and through. I've read the physical copies. I've also listened to them on audio twice, and I love the audio narrator as well. So again, this is a YA mystery. It's a 5-star for me. It is a murder mystery set in a Vermont boarding school, and it has very atmospheric fall vibes, and that's why I love picking it up at this time of year. It is absolutely fantastic. The author's voice as the main character is incredible. The side characters are also really, really cool. There's one in particular, Nate, that I'm a huge fan of, but I love our main character as well. I think there's really good representation throughout this book with our main character as well as our supporting characters. Our main character experiences anxiety, and one of our supporting characters is non-binary, and I think it's incredible to see that type of representation in the YA genre. So our main character in this book is attending a Vermont private boarding school that is sort of invite only, and you get recommended based on particular skills that you have that are very specific. And in this case, our main character Stevie is a true crime junkie, and she essentially is brought to the school to solve an age-old murder that happened at the school. This is when you're going to want to binge read, you know, all 3 back to back to back, because you're going to want to know what happened. Each book stands very well by itself, right? You read the first one and you're like, that was a great book. Now I want to read the second. You read the second, it does not have middle book syndrome. It is fantastic. You say, that was a great story in itself. I want to read the third, and same with the third. So I really, really love this series. There's always something happening again. You can tell that that is a major theme that I'm loving in my books. Something is always happening at every turn of the page. Every time that I've read this book, I've read all 3 in the span of a week, like back to back to back. And I also don't know anyone that does not like this book. Okay, like my whole book club read this. I recommended it to them, and I don't know anyone who didn't like it. I have never seen a review on Bookstagram of someone who didn't like this book. So if that's good news for you, then we're happy to hear that. I hope you guys really love this book if you pick it up. So overall, it was a great 2 months of reading. I only read 7 books, and when I say only, I mean only for me. That's low for me, but I know for other people, that's a really great number. It doesn't matter how many books you read a month. If you're reading, then cool. If you're in a slump, that's fine too. You know, we can't always be reading every moment of every day and enjoying everything that we read. So I am happy with the books that I read. I know a lot of them are 5 stars, and a lot of them were comforting rereads for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about the books that I was able to read here in September and October, and let me know in the comments if you have read any of these as well. Alright y'all, so that's going to wrap it up. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button. If you want to receive notifications when I post new videos, you can click the bell as well. I know that I do that for a lot of my favorite creators, and it's super helpful to make sure that I don't miss any of their posts or their videos. So thanks for stopping by and watching, and I can't wait to film my next video and chat with y'all about more books. Have a great day. Bye y'all.